All right, hello. So to get you caught up, there is this deadline for the debt ceiling on March 15th, and supposedly the federal debt will freeze due to law at $20 trillion dollars, and the government's only going to have about $200 billion dollars left to pay its bills, which will only last it until about June or July, and then everything's going to shut down and everything's going to come to a grinding halt. Okay, that's where we were at previously. Well, now, as you can see, we've got this new date that they're saying. And oddly enough, they're calling it the X date, which no surprise to me because that's the whole as above, so below stuff. Whoops. Right? Let's do this. Then you throw a line here. Then you throw a line here. And you merge those together and you get your six-sided star, your Saturn cube, all that fun stuff. So, no surprise to me that they're now calling it the X date. All right, I'm going to skip around. Debt ceiling X date to hit in October or November. The Bipartisan Policy Center now estimates that the so-called X date or drop deadline by which lawmakers must act will hit sometime in October or November. That's when the Treasury Department will no longer be able to pay all the country's bills in full and on time because they'll have run out of borrowing authority and there won't be enough revenue plus cash on hand to cover all bills due. Translation, the United States would default on some of its legal obligations. Those obligations include paying bondholders, federal contractors, Social Security recipients, and on and on and on, right? They'll have to pass a bill by the end of April to continue funding the government for the rest of the fiscal year. They'll also need to decide on a budget, good luck with that, for 2018 by the end of September. In the meantime, lawmakers will officially be put on notice March 15th. That's when the latest suspension of the debt ceiling expires. At that point, the borrowing limit will reset to just over 20 trillion, and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin must alert Congress that he will start using special accounting measures just to keep paying everything the country owes without violating the borrowing limit. But this so-called extraordinary measure can only last so long. Treasury will soon offer its own projection as to when they'll be exhausted, aka the X date. Until then, however, the BPC's October-November projection is the best estimate available. So we'll see what happens. Come March 15th, I'm kind of curious to see if it will just, if the debt, will actually just freeze, and then they'll say, okay, we will have this amount of money that's going to last us until October, November, or are they just going to raise the whole thing altogether and nothing's going to freeze? I don't know. This stuff is it's just a big show. It's a big mind game. That's all it is. But, this stuff only lasts for so long. And, it's really going to be something to see when the bubble finally goes pop. Can't help but watch it. Just can't. Sorry, but that's me. Doesn't mean you have to. Not trying to convince anybody else to do it. Just think it's really interesting because this is going to be a once in a lifetime event to see. So thanks to my subscribers out there.